Welcome, folks, to another PyMCon Web Series interview where we meet the people that are planning PyMCon. Today I have Christian, who is our contributor experience lead, the person behind the CFP that we keep advertising all the time. But I don't want to take too much of his introduction. Christian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Christian Luhmann. I am part of the PyMC community team, and as Ravin said, part of the contributor experience team, and happy to be here.
So I wanted to ask you, Christian, you've been a part of two PyMCons now. You were very, very helpful and a huge part of our synchronous PyMCon that we held in 2020. And now you're back again for the web series in currently 2022, although of course we're going to keep doing this in 2023 and the years past, most likely. What excites you about PyMCon?
So in 2020, the conference that was held, that was actually how I got into participating as part of the PyMC team, being involved in the community. And so, yeah, that's sort of where it all started. Happy to have continued my participation with the team, helping to sort of nurture the community along the way. And when the idea for this web series came along, I was excited to facilitate and help out however I could. When it comes to this sort of iteration, this form of the conference, I am very excited because the format, obviously, of this is going to be a bit less traditional, a bit more creative than the annual 2020 edition was. And the thing that excites me about the web series is that working with an open source project like PyMC, it's very fulfilling. The team members are all very sort of energetic and enthusiastic. By being as part of the community team, you get to interact with users. You get to see what their sort of questions are, what their needs are, and help them sort of in their sort of daily usage of the project. But when it comes down to it, oftentimes we're not exactly sure how the project is being used, right? We see sort of download numbers and things like that. But in the end, we don't actually have a tremendous idea about the breadth and sort of diversity of things that people are using PyMC for. So the thing that really excites me about this web series is that by asking community members to submit things that they've been working on, to tell the rest of the community about the cool things that they've been using PyMC to accomplish, we also get to learn about how these tools are being used sort of out in the wild.
And I have to say, Christian, that honestly excites me quite a bit as well. The fact that folks can show off what they can do. And I have to personally thank you a bunch. You helped a lot with determining this format and talking through the nuances. It's different than other conferences where the talks are very structured in sort of fixed blocks that fit into a tutorial mold or a talk mold. We had this wacky idea and you really ran with it and helped us get it to where it is today. So thank you a ton for what your title says, making a super great contributor experience for the folks that are contributing, which then in turn will make a great community experience, like you said, so everybody can learn how these things can get used, not just read the API docs that's on the website. As important as API docs are, to say.
Yeah. I think that like the 2020 edition of the conference, I think we got a great glimpse of some of the things that people are working on, learned some of the very cool applications that are out there that people are doing Bayesian data analysis with. But yeah, as you mentioned, the other cool dimension that we're sort of adding to the new web series is sort of flexibility and diversity in terms of the formats. So, instead of having talks, instead of having kind of standard canned formats, I'm really looking forward to the creativity that people bring to bear on the formats themselves. So if you have something that you've been sort of thinking about, if there's a topic or an activity that you have been imagining in the back of your head, I'm very excited to see what kinds of formats people submit. We have some laid out in the call for proposals, tutorials, walking through constructing notebooks, panel discussions, right? There's hackathons on a common data set, but those are just examples. And I'm really excited to see what other kinds of things people can come up with.
So Christian, you did take away one of the questions I was going to ask you, which is how did you get started in PyMC? So I'm going to have to ask you a different question now. What got you interested in statistics or perhaps Bayesian statistics in particular? How did you get into this area of mathematics?
Yeah. So I have a bachelor's in computer science and I have a PhD in psychology. And my research really fuses those interests. And so I take a lot of relatively sophisticated quantitative and computational approaches to data of a behavioral and social nature. And so I like to say that when your data gets messier, your quantitative tools have to become more sophisticated. So I ended up in a place where relatively sophisticated quantitative tools were kind of required. And so Bayesian data analysis was kind of a natural fit. I started using PyMC because of that. I was already a Python user. I've been a Python user for way too long, probably 2003 or so. Yeah, so PyMC was a natural choice. So I had been using the package for quite a while. And then, as I said, when PyMCon 2020 came along, there was a request for volunteers, and I replied to that request. I assumed that there was going to be just a flood of people requesting to volunteer and participate and help organize. But it turns out I was sort of one of a very small number of people who had stepped up to volunteer. And so, yeah, for PyMCon 2020, I was helping out on the tech side. And you and I were sort of trying to stress test some software and late nights and early mornings trying to get the whole thing to run on a technical side. 2020, the whole thing was run hybrid. So.
Yeah, there's a particular video conferencing software that we're never ever going to use again. It's a good learning experience planning conferences. With that, is there anything else that you would like to tell the folks with a last minute here?
I guess the one thing I would say is if you are on the fence about submitting to the current CFP deadline, I would encourage you to submit your kind of half-baked idea. If you're not exactly sure what the format is going to look like or should look like, if you're not exactly sure what the content should be, if you're not sure sort of where the edges should be, how broad or how narrow it should be, please submit those. As part of this entire process, those proposals that we think are appropriate for the web series, we are going to take those submitters and we are going to pair them with a mentor. And the two of those are going to actually turn that submission into an actual event. And so through the collaboration between the mentor and the submitter, we're going to take those submissions and turn them into the reality that ends up being part of the web series. So don't feel like your submission has to be finalized, polished, perfect. We will happily work with you to turn this into something that is appropriate for the web series. So if you're on the fence, please submit it and we will make it happen.
Thank you, Christian, for explaining PyMCon, how you got involved in PyMC, stats, and especially for helping put this whole thing together. Super appreciate your time. And we hope to see you folks at the web series. Go to the website that you're going to see here in the corner, pymccon.com, for the details on the CFP with everything that Christian just said, or to see what other events are occurring. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.